DETV Sports Update is powered by DART, Delaware's transit service. Moving forward.
Needs one bucket to keep its season alive. Gillespie from the out of bounds to the freshman Queen, who's driving, floats it. Oh! Maryland on the right side of a buzzer beater with life into the Sweet 16.
Derek Queen off the glass as the Terps hit the buzzer beater to advance to the Sweet 16. One of the few games filled with drama here throughout the first couple of rounds in this year's NCAA tournament. Welcome back into DETV Sports. Here as we now have our Sweet 16 set, and if we get to it there a little bit later on the show, we'll recap some of the NFL, some big stuff there over the last 3 or 4 weeks that we haven't had a chance to get to. But we are going to solely focus on the NCAA tournament, and what a shot by Derek Queen. All three of us told you to watch out for him here last Monday on the bracket show. Again, thanks to everyone that tuned into that. Hopefully it helped you out a little bit with your brackets, and what a job by the Terps here to get us started. And who better to talk to about Maryland than Jason McCall here, and he had a great quote after the game, did the freshman Derek Queen. What a run for the Crab Five, and they are into the Sweet 16. That's where we start tonight, Jason. Maryland over Colorado State, a shot with about 1-point-something seconds left for Lake from the Rams, and then what an answer. And you heard him in the huddle with Coach Willard in the interview after, saying he was calling for the basketball. What a game there, one of the best of the weekend.
I'm from Baltimore, that's what he said. That's what he said, you know, as am I. So it was cool to see. Now, honestly, this is actually a very great story this year with the Maryland's basketball team. Getting a recruit like Derek Queen to stay at home and play for Maryland, that doesn't usually happen that often. A lot of the Maryland top recruits go out of state to play basketball. So for him to stay at home and to play at the University of Maryland at College Park for Coach Willard, and to bring some people along with him for the ride. And I feel like it's been like a 2 or 3 year project with Juju and getting the transfers like Rodney Rice and Gillespie to come there and everything. So Coach Willard has built the roster up to where it is today, and you're seeing the benefits of that. I mean, you can't teach 6'10" with a handle and a feathery touch. And looking at the replay, I don't think it was a travel.
Again, that's where we're going to head into here in a few minutes. Matthew, how was your weekend? How's your bracket still doing? I think, as you said before the show, still looking strong.
I mean, I got nine of the Sweet 16, so not totally bad, but, you know, made some calls that haunted me, so, you know.
As we all did, I'm sure.
That's of course.
So what did you think about that final play there for Michigan? Obviously, Derek Queen, somebody you're going to have on your draft boards, you know, going forward. But what did you think about that shot? Did you think it was, in fact, a travel? And what do you think about Maryland heading to the Sweet 16 over Colorado State? That would have been the only 12 seed or double-digit seed besides Arkansas had they won to make the field. We're going to talk about the lack of Cinderellas and the NIL and all that here in a little while. But initial thoughts on Derek Queen of Maryland at the buzzer. Was it a travel?
In my eyes, yeah. But I'll say this, and this is just part of my whole problem I have with the NCAA. It's not a travel anywhere else. Not a travel in
You're right
the
about
NBA.
that.
It's not a travel in professional leagues. It's not a travel in high school in Australia, in the junior ranks in Spain, Germany. It's only a travel in America because we still are using the rules that we invented when Naismith came up with it. I'm glad the refs let it go. I think in today's age, I think the NCAA has to come to the conclusion that everybody's now doing a 0 step, which is you start your count at 0, as according to 1, 2. It's now 0.
That is exactly what it looks
like. It's now 0, 1, 2. So I'm glad that the refs didn't call it. I think it's the right move, and I think the NCAA should make this change because I think it's going to help our players when they go professional, because that's one of the biggest adjustments they have to make, and they get with their trainers. And a lot of these guys, Derek Queen, all these guys that are you know pushing their way to the pros, they're all getting that training right now with their trainers. So he's done that move 1,000 times, and it's legal everywhere else. The problem is the NCAA has this archaic rule. So I saw people crying, and yeah, I think if you're talking about from what the rule book is, sure, I guess you could if you want to be a stickler, but I think the refs made the right call. It wasn't a travel because everybody else is playing this way. Yeah. We're the only ones that are trying to force our players to play a way that they can't even play when they go professional. So.
And there were also a bunch of bodies on him on that shot. So it looks like he was being held and had to gather to get into the shot. So you could also argue from the other side that, hey, he had some hands on him and he went through the traffic and then released the shot. But the shot went hot off the glass and went in. Like, you got to think about the degree of difficulty on that shot. Like, there's only about 3 or 4 players who can make that shot. Mm-hmm. In all the basketball, forget college, all the basketball, with that trajectory, not a lot of people can make that shot. You know, he made Tim Duncan proud last night, that shot. You know?
Yeah, that was someone Matt compared him to last Monday on the show, Tim Duncan and Derek Queen. We told you to look out for him, and he certainly made his impact there with
Crab
that buzzer
5,
beater
baby.
In the Sweet 16. They're going to take on Florida. We're going to get to that here in just a moment. Again, for me, though, I'm with you guys. I think it was obviously, if you were to run it back, look at the replay of travel. In real time, I didn't notice anything after the shot went off. Of course, when he went back, some people went off the fact that they noticed it in real time. I was not one of those people. I agree with Matthew. I think the refs did a good job of letting that one go for the buzzer beater. But now let's talk about an overall perspective here about the NCAA tournament. No conference is represented now in the Sweet 16 besides the Power 5. That hasn't happened since 1974. So we're seeing now with the new NIL, and now all these schools have money to spend. They're poaching some of those mid-major guys, right? They're playing for the Kentuckys and the Tennessees, et cetera. And now we're not seeing any of those mid-majors have success in the NCAA tournament. As I mentioned, all Power 5 conference teams the rest of the way. Are Cinderella's dead now in March here going forward? And if so, how do we fix this, or how does the NCAA fix this? I don't see a solution here on the horizon. I think this is going to be something we're going to have to get used to, and I'm not a fan of it.
They're not dead. They're just dead this season, in my estimation. You got to think, the teams that have the Power 5 teams that are left that have decent players, they came from the mid-majors who upset some of these Power 5
that's my
teams
point.
Years ago. So I think you'll still have those 1 or 2 or 3 teams who shock somebody next year, then that guy will probably transfer the year after that. So I don't think it's completely dead. No, I don't.
Matthew, what do you think?
I mean, I don't think it's dead, but I do think it's severely impacted the success of mid-majors. I mean, your school, for example, Clayton came from Iona.
That's right.
Martin came from Florida Atlantic. I think Richard came from Belmont. So you guys have poached a lot of the mid-majors to make your program work. So, I mean, I do think for certain programs, that's what they're gonna do. And when you have the NIL and you're Florida and the NIL is robust, you're gonna attract a lot of mid-major guys that aren't getting those kind of deals at those other schools. So yeah, I think it's something that could happen. But I wouldn't be an alarmist right now. I think this is just this for this. Now, if we see this trend continue to happen, then yeah, of course, then we'll reevaluate it. But I think for right now, I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's just an aberration of this season. So
let's talk about it over the weekend. I mean, just in terms of competition, we talked about no upsets. We just talked about that. Not a lot of close games, really, either. There was a few, but not what we're used to. Some people are calling this the worst first weekend of the NCAA tournament in years. Do you guys agree with that sentiment?
I mean,
I think I do. I watched almost every game this weekend when I could, and I've done that for years and years now. And I think, to me, entertainment-wise, I think this was the most, I don't want to say boring first and second round of the NCAA tournament, round of 32, but in recent years, that's what comes to mind.
But isn't this what people wanted? Like, I mean, we're already seeing this in football. Like, with NIL, because talent is more dispersed in basketball, it's easier to get an upset. In football, the talent is very condensed, so this happens in football, no one complains. But now it's happening in basketball now for the first time since you said 73, and now all of a sudden everybody's worried. Well, it's like, what'd you think was going to happen? When you let the big boys have the big checks, they're going to start bringing in guys, and they're going to and the mid majors are going to have to adjust. And it's terrible to say, but that's some of what's going to have to happen.
And now you have the football schools becoming basketball schools again. I mean, like, look at the Floridas, the
SEC, right? The SEC in entirety, basically.
The Alabamas, Michigan State has pivoted from a football school to a basketball school solely again. Even schools like Clemson, you know,
even Maryland,
you know. Yeah. So. I mean, you have the teams there, Tennessee.
I mean, you can talk about all the Arkansas, those schools of the SEC, a lot. Like I said, a record amount of teams from any conference in the tournament this year, 14 from the SEC, and I believe 7 of those into the Sweet 16. That'll be a record, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on.
I would say, I mean, Yeah, the NIL has done amazing things for college sports, but also done some pretty nasty
college
work.
athletes.
College
I would say.
athletes.
I don't know if it's if I would say sports in general, but definitely for the athletes.
But the problem, the NIL is a problem, but it's not the problem.
Yeah, I agree with
the
that.
biggest problem is the early portal windows.
Like today.
Like today in basketball, and then the one for football, like right after the season's over, before the playoffs start.
Yep.
Like those windows.
Push it back a week.
They push it back.
Just push it back a week.
They push back a little bit more
Yeah.
for the playing field to be a bit more competitive.
You've got teams in the tournament still right now that are having to talk to their coaches and whether or not they want to be back next year. Like you've got guys on Arkansas and you had other teams.
Justin Pippen is in the portal and his team's in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. I mean, it's crazy. Just push it back 1 week. Just next Monday would even be a little bit better. It was a tough day for University of Delaware here over the weekend. I believe almost half the roster has entered the transfer portal. Isaiah Pasha, the freshman of the year, into the transfer portal. So it's just the new landscape of college basketball in 2025. I know I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I have to get it. We all do have to just adjust and get used to it because it seems that's the way things are going to go.
Yeah, I mean the NCAA's got to fix that part.
I think so
too.
too.
I think I'm in favor of the new rule that they're doing where they don't penalize you for the first transfer.
Yeah.
But I think when you have hired mercenaries, I think that's the problem. When you got a constant revolving door. First time I get not penalizing the player. Second time it's like, dude, you're just a mercenary. You're just like literally there are guys that are going to be in the pre-draft camps at Portsmouth in April that literally are going to go to 4 schools in 5 years. It's like
You're right about that.
it's like I don't know. Like at what point are you transferring? Are you transferring just because of the money? Or are you transferring because there are situations? And I get the situation. Okay, maybe things change at your house. Maybe you have a better chance to make more money with the NIL. I'm all for that. Go get it. But then it's like, how much more are you moving just for the sake of moving? And you're seeing kids that are moving that are averaging 20 points a game. You're seeing kids that are moving that are starters on their roster. So now it's not even you're moving
reserves,
because you're playing time. Now it's like, oh, you're just moving just to move. So I don't know if that's good long-term for the NCAA product. I don't know if that's good long-term for college sports as a whole. I do think that that's the major sticking point that they're going to have to fix.
The portal windows have to be fixed, man.
Yeah.
Like in all the sports, because this is getting out of hand.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, you guys said it's been tough. And then to your point, John Camden from the University of Delaware started his career at Memphis, went to Virginia Tech, was at Delaware, and now I believe entering the transfer portal again. So he'll be at his 4th school next year, and we'll see. Hopefully John comes back to the University of Delaware, but we'll see how that goes. But that's just an example of what Matt's talking about, because that is going to become the norm potentially here going forward, again, whether we like it or not.
I don't think it's going to be the norm, but I think the NCAA is going to have to make that deal.
Do you have confidence? I haven't had confidence in the NCAA to do anything right, and at least since I've been alive. Do you guys think that is something?
I think they'll do it first in basketball before they do it in football. I think football is too much money involved, too many boosters and outside people for them to really regulate it like that. But I think college basketball, you can kind of...
It's like a salary cap type thing? Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah, but I think college basketball, you have the easier route to correcting it earlier on. Football's going to take a while because, like I said, you got the big school... Let's just put it out there. The SEC runs college football, not from
maybe college basketball.
Just from a money standpoint.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
run, they run football. So whatever the SEC says, what they're pretty much going to adopt. So
if it were up to you guys, would you keep it as the way it is now, or if you could go back in time and wish nothing ever changed, would you do that? Would you fix the current model? What's your ideal situation going forward?
I would let people transfer because that's sitting out 1 year. People
but you're all in on NIL. You're all in on NIL.
I mean, they were selling their jerseys anyway on East Bay and stuff for years, not getting anything off of it. I mean, you had college students who were stealing and robbing people, but with star players on their team and stuff. Jerseys being sold in stores, but they can't pay. They can't get a
Johnny Manziel too.
Like you can't
Reggie Bush.
You can't get a meal from McDonald's. You don't have any money. So
yeah, that was always ridiculous.
So you have that. Again, for me, it's really the portal window time frames. I think if you get a hold of that first, and then maybe go back to make, like you said, making like a salary cap, like a bank of NIL money at the bigger schools. So the NCAA needs better revenue sharing. It's really what it boils down to, revenue sharing. And it's going to have to be some type of...
They got money.
Some type of reconfiguration of that.
Figure it out.
But how long it's going to take to happen, you have to be seen.
See, I'm part that part. The other problem I have is, I think we all got to come to the conclusion, whether we like it or not, that this is a business now. It's been a business for a while. I always make this joke that like when people said that these players were walking away with $100,000, it was like, no way. Now, it's like, now you got guys getting millions.
Yeah.
So, like, now I would make this joke with, like fans, like, now you see the sausage being made, you don't want the sausage now. But the sausage was being made in the factory secretly, quietly. They were giving $100,000 here. A booster would drop a bag off at your house.
That's how it was done, right?
That's how it was done. And people couldn't believe, they couldn't wrap their mind around a 19-year-old kid who never played a game getting this amount of money. Now you have Michigan sign that quarterback to like $10 million. Now, I will say this. I'm a huge believer in the cap. I think they have to put a cap because I think you got to save these colleges for themselves. I think some of these colleges, like Michigan, for example, I think that's ridiculous. You gave one player $10 million. And I do think when you pay somebody that kind of money, what you're basically saying is they're going to come in and the expectations from fans is going to be
to win.
You got to win. You got to win it all.
Every game. Yeah,
Everything.
There's
no 6-6.
There's no 6-6. There's no
you're
struggling.
Twice. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, you just paid him $10 million. And anytime you start putting in that kind of pressure with young men who just went to the prom, I just
yeah.
I think that you're opening up Pandora's box. I really do. So I think there has to be a salary cap. I think you have to restrict guys when they want to transfer the second time. But I also will say this. Fans also have to stop crying about the transfer thing, too, because we don't cry when these coaches leave. These coaches leave these players high and dry. They just say, yo, I'm out. Got a better deal. I'm going. Peace.
We've seen it already happen 3 times this week.
Right. I mean, the guy at McNeese State, Wade, he's peace.
Before the game started.
I'm out. I'm going to NC State, and everybody says congrats.
They asked him
Players
in the
do
press
it,
conference, yeah.
Then they cry.
I mean, it happened with McCollum today from Drake, took the job at Iowa. So all these, lower mid-major programs, coaches leave.
Well, there's one coaching update that really is a good story, but it's still like sucks with the team. On the women's side, Larry Vickers from Norfolk State, their best records ever. They went 30-4, beat Auburn, and beat Missouri women's team this year. He's now the new head coach at Auburn.
Shout out to Diamond.
So you have stories like that, but at the same time, you do lose great coaches going to other schools, and that the grass is always greener. But I would say for me, the biggest travesty outside of the Will Wade move was the Sean Miller move to Texas. I think Rodney Terry got a very raw deal.
It's an interesting one.
And coaches need at least one full recruiting class. So that means 4 years of a recruiting class, if there's even such thing anymore.
I was about to say, yeah, maybe, but
when
it was when he started.
But at least still 4 years of at least 1 4-year track to see what you can do with a team. I mean, he was given essentially an interim year once Chris Beard was fired, and then 2 years. So not enough time really to put your own imprint on the team. And now he's fired, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that was a crazy one that came out, I believe, yesterday or today. Just, it's last Thursday we saw Sean Miller beat Texas,
right.
And then gave the interview after the game, and just like that, he's now coaching on the other sideline of that play-in game that they had with Texas. Just to your point, it happens, and it happens a lot. And again, we've seen that trickle in. I mean, just from the high school perspective, covering some of the Delaware high school sports, is these kids are transferring left and right. You talk about 3 schools for a high school kid, and you can talk about college and how that affects someone ever. But I really don't think it should be happening in high school and just focusing on your education and stuff outside of sports. But I mean, you're seeing these high school kids now transfer to 3 or 4 high schools
I mean, that's always happened though. Like, the high school ones actually always happen.
But for sports, though.
No, for sport, though, it's always happened.
I've never seen 3 or 4. I mean, people used to transfer, but the stuff that I'm seeing now.
It's always happening. Now it's just a bigger scope on it, a bigger lens, but it's always happened. Especially with high school boys basketball, it's always happened. Always happened. Like, you'll have, like in Baltimore, for example, you'll have players start off at like a Lake Clifton or Dunbar, or then they'll end up at like Montrose Christian or Riverdale Baptist or one of the other Catholic schools, or St. Francis. St. Francis Academy in Baltimore is the preeminent basketball school now, but there are a lot of those players transfer from regular public schools to go to St. Francis. Luckily for City College, my alma mater, we've built a program where the coach, homegrown coach, his son played with the school, and then he finally won the state championship. So
yeah, and that's how it should be.
You have
guys
that,
on their third, like I said, I could see the one, high school to another one maybe a couple years, but 3 or 4 is it's crazy, but it's happening everywhere now. So we're gonna have to get used to it. And like you said, hopefully they make some adjustments. We'll see what the NCAA does. But again, all Power 5 conferences into the Sweet 16 this year. Again, first time since '74.
And to wrap this up about the transfer thing, amateurism is dead. Simple as that. Everyone's pay for play. Whether it's AAU, high school, or college, it's pay for play.
That's right. It seems like we sat here, I mean, not us personally, but people in the media and, different sports shows for years, back when that was not a thing, right? It was, when is this going to happen? Our players are ready to get played. And now here we are years later, and it is official. And obviously they got to figure out the ins and outs of it, but it is real and it is here. So we'll see how it adjusts going forward here, but not just only the NCAA tournament, but of course other sports as well.
SMU and Michigan should be kicking up dirt. The death penalty happened at SMU, and they made Michigan take down their Final Four banners. Give them all this stuff back.
Yeah, that still hasn't happened yet?
Hasn't happened.
No, I want Penn State to get that death penalty. But anyways, let me ask this, man. So Sean Miller got the job at Texas. What has Sean Miller done that's phenomenal? Look,
he's had his issues, right? I mean, I get Miller's confused sometimes. But
overrated coach I've ever seen in college basketball. I gotta be honest with you.
The reason why he gets jobs still is because he produces lottery picks and top picks. He still produces Ayton in the field players. So I mean,
those guys are good.
No, but that's really his reason why he still get the big coaching jobs. I mean, hell, he's left.
I'm not a big Sean Miller.
I mean, hell, he left Xavier twice now. I mean, he left Xavier the first time with Arizona.
The Millers, right? Sean and Archie Miller.
Sean and Archie, yeah. Archie is the brother.
Yeah, man. I mean, he just respectfully, I don't get the fascination with Sean Miller.
But Matt, you remember he's been the boy wonder since he played at Pitt back in the day, and been coaching straight from his graduate years. So that's people still have that mystique about Sean Miller, and that's what's getting him these jobs still.
I think he's a decent coach. I just this constant reiteration of putting him in a Power 5 school,
I don't like the recycling. I mean, I don't like the recycling in any sport, football, basketball, college, pros. But I'm with you there.
Yeah, I just don't get what is he going to do so special at Texas? Is he supposed to make it rain there? I mean, I don't know, man. It's Texas.
Well, now to that point, because it kind of brings up something different with all these coaches and stuff like that. Do you have to be as good of a coach now, or is it more about how much NIL money or booster money you have? And does that affect a coach's decision to go places? Like a Sean Miller, obviously they approach Sean Miller, and we may not agree with that hire, but they say, hey, we got this much money to work with, yada, yada, and he's there. Do you think a lot of this money and the boosters and the NIL takes away from the coaching aspect of college basketball just a little bit? Does it make the coaches a little bit less valuable to their teams?
Yeah.
I think that's crazy, right?
I mean, is it crazy?
Well, no, I think you're right, but I'm saying isn't it crazy that that's what it's come to now?
I mean, that's what it's come to because I think that the lifeblood of college athletics has always been recruiting, and we've created a mythology around coaches, whether it's John Thompson, Jerry Tarkanian, Dean Smith, Coach K, but you look at those teams. They had some dogs.
They were always loaded.
Yeah, they were always loaded. So it's certain guys had less talent than others for sure. And I do think they coach, but how many of these guys are like Bobby Knight? I've always respected what Bobby. I agree. I didn't like who Bobby Knight was, but I always respected the way that he took talent that a lot of coaches couldn't win with and made 30-win seasons out of the Big Ten. I don't think a lot of coaches could do that. So, I think those coaches are gone. I just think it's now about who's the best CEO.
CEO is managing talent and egos. It's not about X and O's anymore.
That hurts me a little bit.
That's for your assistant coaches to do.
Yeah,
the head coach is the president of the company. He's the face.
And I guess we're seeing that, right, with John Calipari, what he's done with Arkansas here this year in his first year. I mean, you look at the BYU, Kentucky, Arkansas, all those coaches kind of just switch spots in a way, and here they all are in the Sweet 16. Let's jump now to the bottom of that bracket where St. John's went down in the Rick Pitino versus John Calipari matchup, Boogie Flan, Arkansas and company. And people forget that team started 0-5 in the SEC.
Yep.
But in the beginning of the year, there were expectations. Preseason number 16 coming into the year. They had McDonald's All-Americans. You talk about Boogie Flan, the guys that came over, DJ Wagner coming over from Kentucky to join him. But how about Arkansas getting hot late here and talking about schools with semi-NIL money? They were one of them, and they got Calipari, and he was able to take down St. John's in that round. Your guys' thoughts on the Razorbacks to the Sweet 16, and we all love St. John's this year, and they proved us absolutely wrong here in this one. They just couldn't get things going offensively, and I'm sure we talked about the hot topic in this one was R.J. Lewis being benched for the final 5 minutes. A 2-point game, he was 3 of 17, and then Pitino deciding to go away from him, only down 2 at the time for the final 5 minutes of the ball game. So we'll dive into that, but initial reactions to St. John's going down to Calipari in the Calipari-Pitino matchup. All the clips surfaced before the game, and everything that they showed, that they said, those two to me they don't seem they like each other at all. I don't know what the reason is behind them, but Calipari gets the better of Pitino in this one.
You're finally seeing a healthy Arkansas team, and that's the only explanation I have. I mean, they were hurt most of the season. A lot of the players were hurt almost the whole entire year. This is just now they're a fully healthy roster, and they have a bunch of McDonald's All-Americans and top-level recruits. So it's not hard to do when you have that kind of roster. They're finally playing together at the right time of year. And
That's all about.
And let's be honest, St. John's was a grinded-out team.
Yeah.
They weren't your best shooting team.
That's right, exactly.
And they're a second-half team. But the thing with St. John's is, if they didn't get in foul trouble, they could unleash their defense in the second half. That game against Arkansas, they got in foul trouble, and they really couldn't get things going like that. They couldn't impose their will defensively like they normally do.
And we saw that in round one. They struggled against Bryant there in that first half, and then the defense up tempo picked up. They turned those turnovers into points. They got rolling in the second.
And truth be told, talent won. Arkansas has the more talented roster. Talent
Which is
won.
true. I mean, that is true on paper. Given the years,
won.
St. John's 31-win team, Big East regular season champs, Big East tournament champions. But again, you said Arkansas, on paper, they had the more talent coming into the season. Matthew, what do you think of Arkansas's win? And then talk a little bit about the R.J. Lewis. So what did you think of that? Is that something that caught your attention after that game? Going away from the Big East Player of the Year. Yeah, he was 3 of 17. We've seen Pitino do this sometimes in the past. But R.J. Lewis on the bench for the final 5 minutes. Arkansas takes down the Red Storm.
Well, first of all, I mentioned his name in our preview show, and he finally did something. Billy Richmond. I mean, he finally stepped forward, did his thing. He's been missing. He's been very inconsistent this year. He's a McDonald's All-American. I really was impressed with him at the high school level. And then Carter Knox, came forward, stepped up, played really well. It was not about Boogie Fland at all. He did not really do a whole lot there. I think Brazil, he stepped up. He got some really good rebounds, played some decent defense on the inside. The problem with Pitino that I've always had is there are times where I think Pitino, I don't know if that's the time to have that fight. I think the time to have that fight with R.J. Lewis is after the game.
In the locker room, yeah.
In the locker room. I think when you put a kid like that on center stage and you say, yeah, you know why I didn't play him. It's I don't know. It sends the wrong message. It's kind of like Mick Cronin from UCLA where, you're kind of you're putting him out there for everybody to pick apart.
Yeah.
And I just don't know if Pitino – I think sometimes Pitino's ego gets the best of him. And I think in that moment, he let his ego override him. And, look, at this point, it's about winning the game. You can have this fight with RJ later on, but you need him to win. As much as we talked about St. John's, if it wasn't Kadari Richmond, who could do nothing in this game, Zuby was the best consistent player they had the whole game. You needed RJ to somehow get alive, get a shot going, get himself going. And then you say, you know what, I'm just going to bench him. He don't need, forget this. I'm tired of him.
Player of the year.
Yeah, I think it sends the wrong message, and I think that, again, it's not the time to have that fight. I think that's something you do another day.
And to your point, Matthew, again, I don't know if you caught the press conference afterwards, and it seems like you did from the way that you spoke about it there, but it pretty much teed him up and said, R.J. Lewis, Big East Player of the Year, what a year he had for you. This was after they'd asked him why he didn't play, and they were like, how big of a year was it, trying to get him to, to say anything nice about
right.
R.J. Lewis, and he wouldn't, just went on about every other guy on the team. It was a bizarre interview after the game, and I think to Matthew's point, it was weird to watch, interesting to see, and again, I don't know if I agree with how Pitino handled that during the game, and again, he's made moves like that before, and they have worked out in some situations. This one I didn't agree with. It did not work out, to Matthew's point, and I think the way he handled it after was a little weird to me. And again, if you're a guy maybe looking to go to a program or go to a school, when you see something like that about, their best player gets treated that way, and maybe, we don't know the relationship that those two have, but from the outside looking in, does it look like they have a good relationship, especially as you mentioned the ego? He kind of put him on blast there, if you will, down the stretch. Again, just say anything nice about him. He couldn't do it. He went on about other players, didn't even mention R.J. Lewis when asked specifically about R.J. Lewis. What do you think?
I kind of agree with the benching.
Oh.
Was
it the energy? Again,
Yeah,
I would have to go back and see
it was the energy. It was the energy. Do I agree with the way it was handled in the press conference? No. But the benching, I kind of agree with. But I do think he probably should have come back into the game maybe with like 2 or 3 minutes left, possibly. But I think overall, I mean, he just wasn't. It wasn't happening. No matter what configuration lineup they had, it wasn't working. I mean, he had a John Starks 94-pounders moment, 3 for 17. I mean, he had that. That's what happened.
I mean, again, people like say, let your best players, they could have an off day, but they keep shooting. Right, as a coach, you want those guys to keep shooting or to be your guys, but not the case here in this one with Pitino. We'll see. You guys think that'll affect, and I don't know if it necessarily will or not. Will it affect the recruiting and all the way he handled this situation? I mean, I guess not when you look at it from overall, but it's not
definitely will to me.
You think so? Yeah. I hope it does.
Is Archie Lewis a senior? Is he a graduate? Is he a senior?
Yeah, I think he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, a tough moment there for R.J. Lewis. And company there for St. John's. Not the season that they had envisioned after taking home 31 wins at Big East regular season and tournament time.
But let's be honest. From last year to this year, no one expected this out of St. John's.
Oh, no. They were like America's team here in the tournament a little bit. A lot of red out there.
You gotta give them credit for the year they had, and you move forward. I think they'll go further with the worst record next season.
RJ's a junior, by the way.
He's going to the portal.
Well, I was about to say, will he be back there? Who knows?
He's going to Syracuse on purpose.
So we'll see what happens there with but Arkansas. And quickly before we move on from the Razorbacks, do want to get your guys' opinions on Calipari there. He advances if he's, I think, his 4th different school with a Sweet 16 appearance. Not many people can say that. And he would be the only player to get them, I believe, to the Elite Eight or Final Four if he's able to do that at his 4th program. So what do you guys think about Calipari? Does this raise his kind of I don't want to say his credentials or his resume at all with what he's done here with Arkansas in round 1?
He's already at that level to most people, so it's not really going to do anything else. Like, he's just going to win another game.
I'm just waiting for the next NCAA investigation.
And that's what most of us are waiting on.
Are those days over?
Memphis,
are those NCAA investigations
UMass,
over? Well, now, who knows with NIL?
Those days might be over because of NIL.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
We'll see, but again,
there's no Lou Rowe walking through that door.
Razorbacks, though, into the Sweet 16. I want to go quickly on this next one before we jump into some of the better games. Purdue handled McNeese State. You talked about Will Wade, Matthew there. Braden Smith. No Edey this year. We talked about the rebounding. They went to be one of the worst rebounding teams, but you guys highlighted Kaufman Wren, Braden Smith, the Big Ten Player of the Year. They seem to be clicking right now a little bit over at Purdue. But I will say the path that they had, in my opinion, having to go through McNeese State did not look good in that second game. So I think they've got some matchup help there. But they are on to the Sweet 16. 76-62. Will Wade will leave for NC State. It was announced before, not announced, but it was discovered before the first game of the tournament that he'd be leaving for NC State. They asked him right at the podium before the game, or before press conferences, before game day, have you heard people talking NC State? And he said, yeah, they have, with a big smile on his face. So McNeese, though, able to rally. They win. Amir Khan, the team manager, will be leaving with Will Wade to head to NC
he's in the portal. He transferred.
He's in the portal. You can't keep anybody out of the portal right now. So Purdue gets the win there. Guys, quick thoughts on Purdue in the Big Ten. Big 10, Big 12, and SEC. That's what we got here in the Sweet 16. Quick notes on Purdue. You guys like them at all?
No, I'm not a fan.
Nope.
Yeah, so we're going to head and move on. Nothing really stands out about Purdue. Braden Smith, though, is he the type of guy, though, that can he get them to an Elite Eight?
No, he Kaufman Wren.
Kaufman Wren has been killing the board. Talk about somebody that travels a lot when he touches. I don't know if you watch. We have to look down and see how that goes over there. So there you have it with Purdue. They advance over there in the Midwest. They'll meet now top-seeded Houston, who got a fight and a rally from Gonzaga, late in that game. Gonzaga, one of the best KenPom teams, typically top 10 net rating coming into the tournament. They give them a run. Houston, they're able to pull that one out late. Houston and Purdue, 1 versus 4. We got chalk there in the top of the Midwest. How do you guys think this one goes with the Cougars and the Boilermakers?
I think it's happy Houston, yeah.
I'm rolling with Houston, and I'm going to have to check the line on this one. We're all picking Houston to win outright. They're 7.5-point favorites in this one. And again, they have been tested there. Gonzaga was a great test for them there in the round of 32. I think they are now ready to go. Give me the Cougars over the Boilermakers, and you guys agree.
Yep.
Calvin Sampson hoping to get back to the Elite Eight. And now let's go to an SEC battle in the bottom of the Midwest here with Kentucky and Mark Pope's first year, leading them here to the Sweet 16, and Rick Barnes in Tennessee back in the Sweet 16 here. So an SEC matchup at the bottom of the Midwest. Kentucky, I believe both of you guys, I know Matthew for sure had Kentucky into, I believe, the Elite Eight coming up here next week.
I've been in the Final Four.
Final Four. So again, I know you both had them going there at Tennessee coming up. Tennessee's been playing well. What do you guys think of this matchup? Andrew Carr looking good for Kentucky, the Delaware transfer, and they seem to be rolling. Lamont Butler, a huge when it comes to NCAA tournament time, he locks in.
He's the X factor for that Kentucky team.
Yeah. So what do you guys got in this one? SEC battle, Kentucky and Tennessee.
I got Kentucky because I look at Kentucky the same way I look at Arkansas. talent-laden roster, some injuries, some lineup changes.
Yeah, they had some injuries.
Now they're finally clicking at the right time of year. I look at them the exact same way, and I see them moving on.
Yeah, I got Kentucky.
I had Tennessee when we did our show initially there last Monday. I think I might go with Kentucky after what I've seen in their first two games. I mean, Tennessee's a good team. I like what they've been able to do.
Good, man.
Kentucky just seems a little bit more smoother, a little bit more skilled to me. Tennessee's going to, I think a little bit better defensively. We'll see. But I like Kentucky with that guard play. Brea and Owe have been great. You got Andrew Carr. And how about Amari Williams as well here for Kentucky, the transfer from Drexel, who played 4 years. There was a defensive player of the year. It almost seemed like each and every year. So 2 CAA guys in the starting lineup, guys that I had a chance to check out all for years, and Amari Williams and Andrew Carr. And I'm going with Kentucky as well now, guys, here in this one, a battle of the SEC. So we'll have University of Kentucky and Tennessee coming up on Friday. Houston and Purdue also set for Friday. Let's jump back to the top of the South bracket. On Friday at 9:40, we've got Auburn and Michigan. We've got the SEC #1 team in Auburn taking on Michigan, who are your Big Ten champs. They've now put together a couple of nice wins. UC Santa Barbara was a big UC San Diego, a big upset call there. Michigan takes them down. Then they take down Texas A&M and Buzz Williams. And here they are with Auburn, Bruce Pearl, Dusty Bay, Michigan, and Auburn on Friday with the chance to go to the Elite Eight. This is going to be a good one, guys. Where are you leaning here? You've got the 2 7-footers on Michigan. You got maybe the best big man in the country, Janai Broom, there for Auburn. It's going to be a fun one.
That's where I had him in our thing, Michigan.
What are you thinking in this one?
Michigan.
Both going Michigan to beat Auburn?
I am actually going Michigan as well because Broom can't guard both those big men.
That's true, unless he clones himself.
I mean, but I think Michigan is playing.
They're playing well.
They're playing team ball, and everyone's happy. Like everyone's invested on offense and defense. And when you have a team whose chemistry is like, you can see it, like it's oozing out their pores, if you will, and there happen to be decent basketball players too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and and Dusty May is a great. He's a
first year Michigan.
He's a great X and O's guy. I mean,
what he did with Florida Atlantic.
Yeah, and we saw that. So I think they may have the edge because a lot of times Bruce Pearl tries to outcoach himself, and I think he might do it this game against Michigan.
Yeah, I think he's been to one Final Four. Or was that a few years ago? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know he hasn't been to a national championship.
Auburn, he took Auburn to the Final Four.
Final Four, yep. So the Final Four, one Final Four appearance for him there. Matthew, I'm leaning in Auburn. I'm going to go with Auburn in this matchup. I know they got the 2 7-footers. Gale had a huge game for them there in their round of 32. To me, with Donaldson and Gale, they've been playing pretty well in the backcourt. Those guys are going to have to continue scoring, to me, as the tournament continues, especially against Auburn, to keep them in it. I know they've got the 2 7-footers, and they're going to be a problem down low, but I think they're going to need really good guard play, and I think they obviously could do it. I don't think they're going to be able to do it against Auburn. I think Gale, Donaldson, and company will come back to earth a little bit when they need big shots. They've hit some big shots early on, so I'm going to go with Pettiford, Broom, Chad Baker, Mazzara, and the Auburn crew to get this thing done.
If Pettiford scores under 20, they're not winning. Pettiford's got to drop 20.
And that's what he
20
did.
plus. Got to drop 20 plus.
Round 32.
Because even if Broom does somewhat well, he's going to work. He's going to be tired. I mean, you've got Golden, you've got Wolf. He's going to be tired guarding those guys, and he's going to be tired as they're guarding him. Pettiford's got to step up, and he's got to be consistent. He's been consistent these last couple tournament games. We'll see. Michigan is – I'll say this for Michigan. It's a little different than the SEC. SEC is more of a running gun style offenses there with the guard play. Michigan's a little bit – the Big Ten as a whole is a little bit more about up in your face, restricting space. Half court sets, not giving you freedom of movement. We're going to see. Pettiford's going to have to make that adjustment, and I think that's going to be very hard for him in that situation. And the same thing with Broom. He's going to deal with guys that, look, they're going to push him around. They're going to want him to initiate contact, and we'll see. It's going to be a battle for Auburn. I really think that.
I think it's going to be good. And you mentioned Pettiford, obviously the freshman, fantastic, but he's got a little bit, as you said, a little bit of Caleb Love in his game, where sometimes he can go on stretches where he just launches up a bunch of crazy stuff that's not hitting. So he can go on 4 straight possessions where he doesn't find the bottom of the net, but he played very well in that last game. I'm a big fan of him. So again, for me, Auburn going to have to knock down some outside shots of this. When you mentioned the Twin Tower, those 7-footers underneath going to be hard to take. Besides Broom in the post, those guys are going to have to knock down some outside shots in this one from Auburn, which they are very capable of doing. So I'm going to go with Auburn, and then you guys with Michigan here in the Sweet 16. Staying in the Midwest, Michigan State down early to New Mexico. They rally back, of course, like they did in round one to take home a 71-63 victory. Tom Izzo back in the Sweet 16. Nothing new there. And then Ole Miss, how about the run from the Rebels? All three of us had them going down North Carolina in round one. They take down the Tar Heels and then take down Iowa State by double digits. So they looked amazing in the first half against North Carolina, like the best team in the country, and they carried that over there against the Cyclones here early, and they kind of never looked back. Went up 20 in the first half and just kept it rolling. Ole Miss and Chris Beard over there now with the Rebels, taking on Tom Izzo and the Spartans of Michigan State. Again, Ole Miss has looked fantastic here. Another one of those running gun teams out of the SEC, and they get another Big Ten team here in Michigan State who likes to, again, so, I mean, they're really good in transition, but doesn't have, a lot of the shooters, et cetera. But a number 2 seed, one of the best teams in the country. Where are you guys leaning in Ole Miss and Michigan State? Another good one Friday night.
Well, I had Michigan State in the Final Four for that reason, so I got to write them up.
I'm taking Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. Well, let's have this debate now a little bit. I'll make my decision when you two are done. It's going to be a close one. Ole Miss, as we talked about, has had the speed. They've gotten out early lead up. Badula's been knocking down some big shots.
Huge.
I mean, they're getting great post play down there in Ole Miss as well. Michigan State. When I watch Michigan State, those bigs to me seem very vulnerable. I mean, not offense, but both offensively and defensively, they get some big rebounds. The guards, I like Jace Richardson, Akins. Those guys came up big in the second half.
Right.
What do you guys think? Why do you say a Michigan State?
No, I just have to stick with my pick. I mean, I can no.
That's simple.
No, but I can also realistically see Ole Miss winning this game though. I really can. But I just got to stick with my pick, man.
Again, you look at Vegas, 3.5 points. That's how you know they're. I mean, that's how you know they're even expecting a close game. What'd you like about what you seen from Ole Miss here to start the tournament?
I mean, just defensively.
Yeah.
Beard's done well with getting defensive pressure with guys, with multiple teams that he's coached. So he's tailor-made for Michigan State. Like he's gonna cause them to have to get a little bit more scoring output from their bigs. Michigan State. Again, they've really been winning by
skin of their teeth.
They did not look great against New Mexico. I don't think they looked great all year, honestly. So I was not big on Michigan State. So for me, that's why I'm picking Ole Miss. I believe that they're going to cause them problems, and if Michigan State doesn't get any production from their bigs, I just think they're going to be out.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the upset here and also go with Ole Miss after what I've seen for 2 weeks. They've looked really strong. If they can shoot like they've been shooting and get that, those big presence from those bigs down low against, I think, like I mentioned, Michigan State, where I think they're vulnerable underneath. I think Ole Miss has a chance to take this one. So I'm going to go with the Rebels as well here. So that would set up for me, Auburn versus Mississippi, and for you guys, Michigan, Mississippi, and Michigan State for you, Jason, there. That'd be a fun Midwest or South bracket final for sure. Just looking at the South bracket here, as you talked about, Mississippi, Michigan State, and then Michigan over there in Auburn. Who do you guys have winning the South? You sticking with your final 4 picks?
Yeah, I'm sticking with
Michigan State.
My final pick, Michigan State.
And who did you have, Matthew?
I think I had Michigan.
Michigan State. I'm going to stick with Auburn to come out of the South. 3 different picks for us up here. Going to be a fun one over there. Let's head to the West. We talked about the Crab 5. They now get the Florida Gators, who held off UConn down the stretch. UConn and Danny Hurley played another great game there. Florida ends up with a 77-75 victory, and I'm sorry if you had the under in that one. That was a unbelievable bad beat for the over-under with McNeely hitting that 3 at the end of the game. They scored about 20 points in the final minute to send that one over. So I feel for all of you guys that had the under out there. But now we get a big one with Florida and Maryland on Thursday night. I've been a big fan of Maryland all year, but Jason and Matthew, as you know, I'm leaning Gators in this one. I thought there was a point in that game where I was a little bit worried against UConn. Again, UConn was playing very well in the first half. I thought Florida would win the game, but I think it was good that they had to go through that test there in the round of 32. Maryland coming off that very emotional game winner. Again, if I had to pick some teams out of their meeting in the field, I wouldn't want them to play Maryland because I think Maryland has a chance to win that game for sure. I'm going to go with the Gators just in totality. I think they are built better there from top to bottom. Jason, I know you're going with the Crab 5.
Maryland is a better version of UConn, and you struggle with UConn. And the X factor is Dairy Queen. I'm going Maryland.
Going Maryland, Matthew?
I I'm doing the same thing. I wasn't high on Florida.
Yeah,
even
I remember
doing
that.
my bracket.
It's going to make it that much sweeter when we sit here next Monday.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm going with
Keep
the
that
Gators
energy
there.
the other way.
Is
Though.
that one? And let's go now to. I don't know if I've ever had or picked a team where I've had them agree with the team that I actually know. Matthew had the Eagles in the Super Bowl, so
There you
I'll give
go.
you that one. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Let's head to the bottom of the West now. In Texas Tech, the 3 seed, they take down UNCW, the CAA champs in round 1. Then they get Drake in round 2, pull away from them 77-64. Arkansas, who we mentioned, so Texas Tech and Arkansas here. Texas Tech having a pretty good year overall out of the Big 12, and now Arkansas playing with house money here a little bit, I should say, but they're hot at the right time. Where are you going, Texas Tech and Arkansas? Matthew, start with you here.
Go with Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas, man.
I hate it, but I'll go with it.
It's Arkansas, man.
I'm not a
Something
big
about them, right? Something
not
about
a big believer in
talent
Texas
wins,
Tech.
bro.
Yeah, talent, they got the talent. But I will say this, that and I highlighted them in the show. If Toppin comes to play like he did the last game, Arkansas is going to be in trouble. I'm going to tell you that right now.
He looked really, again, round 1, he still played solid, obviously, JT
Yeah.
Toppin, but round 2, he dominated Drake. They had nobody that could stay with him underneath.
And Darian Williams got to have a huge game. Again,
he
like
had
he did.
Yeah, and he had a big game as well. So
Yeah.
we'll see Arkansas and Texas Tech. And I think Arkansas, Jason, to me, is a little bit more capable underneath with some of those big bodies. You know, Adu, Brazil, we talked about those guys already. So that'll kind of make things tougher on JT Toppin through the
That's
first
a
2
fact.
rounds. When you play UNCW and then Drake, you don't really get that post-competitiveness
Correct.
that you'll get from a Power 5 program, and not only a Power 5 program, but a Big 12, contender towards the top of those standings. It's going to be a good one here. The line, this one, Texas Tech 5.5-point favorites for the Red Raiders.
What? I'm taking Arkansas.
Grab the points right
Grab
now,
the
right
points on
there.
that
You know
one.
what? I'm going to go with Arkansas, too. I'm with you guys. I'm gonna stay with you guys in this one, the SEC.
I don't know what they see. I don't know what 5.5. I don't see that.
Yeah, I don't see that either.
We go over to Delaware Park. You wanna go
I
over there?
can go Bet Rivers on himself on here.
Shout out to Bet Rivers. And again, we're still looking for sponsors here at Bet Rivers. If you need to come on the show, we can come to you. We can shoot live right over there down the road at Delaware Park. But let's keep it rolling now as we head to the East. A team that a lot of people thought would be the number 1 overall seed. Cooper Flag went down the ACC tournament. They still get a top seed in Duke. They continue to absolutely roll. They roll Mount St. Mary's in round 1, and then they roll Baylor in round 2. 89-66, 23-point victory there. And they get a team and a guy, a transfer from North Carolina, in Caleb Love, who knows something about playing against the Blue Devils. Him and Arizona get a big win over Oregon last night. Duke and Arizona, 1 versus 4. What do you guys think of this one here?
Next.
Yes, next.
You think Duke blows them out?
Unfortunately.
Yes, they
These 2 Tar Heel
Unfortunately.
guys up here, so that's why we're getting this reaction.
I mean,
no, it's Duke is a better team.
I just think Duke's a better team. I don't know
do
what else
too.
there to talk about.
No,
like,
I'm with you.
and Knuppel was the X factor. It's not even Cooper Flag. It's
Yeah.
Knuppel,
They
man.
have
He's shooting
so
lights
much
out, bro.
talent on that team.
And Proctor had an amazing.
See,
my-
his veteranship, I think, is what really
Proctor's,
separates
Proctor's trash, but
on an NBA.
Yeah, on the NBA level, he's
bull
trash.
trash.
But
And Canoopal trash.
Guess the line on this one. What do you
look,
think?
look
the line
though, Proctor is the usual classic Duke player that stayed a while, ended up getting hot after a while. You know, the old Duke players used to be like that.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And they need somebody like that.
The underrated guy on Duke is Isaiah Evans, though. He's a problem.
Okay.
He should be getting that time over Canoopal, but Canoopal's got the clip.
Now let me ask you about Knuppel.
He
I
just like
believe
Yeah, he got that
top.
clip.
Does he have top 15 in him? From everything I've gathered and seen.
Possible.
he might be Reed Shepard. Yeah.
Possible.
He might
Well,
be.
Reed Shepard went third. You
Yeah,
know
he
how
went
we
way
feel
too
about Reed
darn
Shepard
but
on
what
the
I'm saying,
program.
he might have that kind of like.
I mean, he's like Kevin Herter. He reminds me a little bit
I
of
think
Kevin Herter with
I
Maryland.
think he's been
Herter,
better
wow.
in terms of college, though. I think he's been.
Wow.
Kevin Herter was a better athlete, though.
yeah,
He's had a better. Would you guys agree? He had a better college year than Reed Shepard.
Who, Canoopal?
Yeah.
No.
no,
You don't think so?
No, I don't. Yeah,
I think Shepard still had
Shepard still had a better year. Yeah.
Because here's the thing. We could say with Shepard, he was probably, the second best player on the team at Kentucky? Because you had the kid, I can't believe I'm blanking out now.
Yeah, I
kid that
can't
went to
either.
Minnesota, the shifty guard, Rob
I can't.
Dillingham.
Dillingham.
Yeah,
man,
yeah. So you had Dillingham. You could make the argument that it's Cooper Flag.
Yeah.
You could say that Proctor, and then you could probably say Molich. He's been an X factor for them.
Yeah.
I think Canoopal's a great piece for them because all he really has to do is
Spot up.
spot up, and he's money. So I give him that. But
Eaton out there.
yeah, I think for the X factor for the teams is like I said. I think we could even make an argument. I think for what's that kid's name? Foster off the bench for them.
Man, they've got a lot of talent.
Yeah, they got tons of talent, man. But I respect Knuppel what he's done. I mean, he was not supposed to come out like this.
No.
Yeah, so I respect that. He definitely has a chance at the top 15, depending on who picks for sure.
And again, Duke, a team that was obviously capable of winning the ACC tournament title without Cooper Flagg. That goes to show you how much talent is on that roster.
Yeah.
And as a Tar Heels fan, I'll say this. I have a ton of respect for John Shire. He was a player. I respect from now as a coach. He's putting that roster together.
I like John Shire.
And he's actually doing, like, you can see his imprint, him actually coaching them. It's not just, throw him out there.
I don't like John Shire.
I mean, I do. I like John Shire, man.
I like him like I like.
I'd stop it. We'll keep our show in the air, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. That is the goal, Dennis, for sure. Let's jump to the bottom there. Another Thursday matchup. BYU and Alabama, another team out of the SEC. Alabama, the highest scoring offense in the country.
Yep.
They take down St. Mary's 80-66. Obviously, it was a battle at two different paces. And that one, St. Mary's loved to slow down the tempo, half court, et cetera. Alabama wanting to speed things up, and they certainly did that. And they get another big victory there. Grant Nelson seems back and healthy. He played well, obviously led by Mark Sears. Now they get a team in BYU with Denham and Richie Saunders, who look really good through two games. I think this is another one. Give me BYU to upset Alabama. And let me say this. I'll take BYU, and they could get a nice narrow upset here, or it goes the other way and they get blown out. I do can see a point there where they don't keep up with them. But I'm going with BYU. They can score. They can hit the three. They're getting pretty good post play as well under there. Saunders and Denham, they're just hitting their shots as a team right now. Am I crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say
The dream was over. Sorry, Mormons. Dream is over. Dream is over. Hey, Carolina, we're still your daddy.
Wow. Oh, whoa,
Hey,
That
hey,
is taking
watch
a shot.
your mouth.
Listen, all I'm going to say about BYU is it was a good season. And you guys got the Banster coming in next year. Again, that's nasty work. Umar Johnson, we need you on that case because I don't even understand that. But anyways, BYU, look, it was a good season. I respect what you guys have done. But Denham's gone. He ain't coming back.
Gone,
He's gone.
Richie Saunders, he stays, right? Or is he going too?
He probably stays. But I don't even think he's the X factor. I like Cannon Catchings. I mean, he's.
So question for y'all.
Yeah.
Are people going to BYU actually for the school?
They going for the money.
Yeah, I think they do have money now, right?
They have money now. That's how the Banster coming over there.
Yes, I'm saying, like, there's no way he goes there.
Well, that's
to
it.
go to
I
the
mean,
school.
they've got the Jazz owner who's invested over there, Danny, your boy.
And I am.
Is invested in there. As
Well, I
well.
mean, he's a
even
BYU grad alum. So.
Well, there you go. That's what I'm saying. And now he's out in Utah, obviously. So, yes, they've got some money over
And
there.
I ain't even going to talk about what the Mormons said brothers were, but go ahead.
All right, Alabama wins the game. How about that?
We need Umar to come out here.
See,
man.
there's a world. There's
Brother
a world-
Umar, come to us, bro.
There's a world for me, guys, where I do think, again, I'm going with BYU. I think they can stay hot, but there's a world where Alabama wins this game by 20. And again, you talk about the post presence we saw from Arkansas here last. I think Alabama has it with those, versatile bigs underneath as well to go along with, Sears and et cetera. There is a world where I see Alabama win by 20, but I'm going to go with the upset here and take BYU. You two sticking with the tie.
Nah, man. Get BYU out of here. Go on, bro.
Alabama has looked pretty good there in that one. So that'll take us now, I believe, to the final.
No cheeks, BYU. No cheeks.
Who do you guys have out of – let's start with the West. Do you guys have winning the West? Texas Tech, Arkansas, Florida, or Maryland? Who makes it out of the West?
Ooh. If I'm on my roster now, it's Maryland.
I knew you were going to say that. Matthew, where are you going?
Texas Tech, Arkansas, Maryland.
Florida. Say it.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Maryland, man.
Oh, jeez. There we go. Let's head to the East now.
What you say?
Duke, Arizona, BYU, Alabama. Where are you guys going? Duke? Give me Duke. Absolutely. In the Midwest, Houston, Purdue, Kentucky, and Tennessee.
Kentucky.
Going with the Cougars from Houston there. I think their
nasty
team's
work.
looking good. LJ Cryer and company. Auburn, Michigan, Mississippi, Michigan State.
Michigan State.
You going to stick with them?
Nope.
Big Ten champs?
Nope.
Go Auburn.
Go Auburn.
Auburn. I'm rolling with Auburn as well. So there you have our Final Fours here.
No, wait a minute. I had Auburn losing.
You had Michigan.
yeah.
That's why I was hoping you would switch there. Yeah, you
Michigan.
did.
Michigan.
I
There you go.
almost
My
caught
bad.
him. Almost caught
My
him
bad.
slipping there towards the end as we continue. So any closing words here, guys, on college basketball as the tournament? We now have our Sweet 16. And again, not a lot of upsets, if any at all. But we're going to have some great matchups with a lot of these big teams coming up.
No, just wait and see.
Wait and see.
Right.
Here we go. Going to be a fun one here. Baseball season gets underway. Not much to say before it does, but Thursday is opening day. How are you guys feeling? A big year hopefully coming up for your Orioles. Matthew and I, Phillies, hopefully going to head back to the World Series this year. But just any quick comments on baseball coming up and starting again here this upcoming Thursday.
Birdland, baby. Go O's.
I was thinking about doing a fantasy baseball league this year.
Oh, man. I've done that, and I just started 2 years ago, I think, and I really like it. It's a lot to keep up with, but
Yeah.
I like it. It gets you more invested, too, in baseball. You know?
Yeah, thinking about doing it.
All right, then before we head out of here, guys, again, a rather shorter show for us here on a Monday. I know Jason is really loving that. He's ready to get back to the fam. How's everybody doing at home?
Yeah, I'm ready to go home now.
He's ready to go home now. There you go. That's how you know everybody at home here on a Monday after a long NCAA tournament weekend. Well, let's hop quickly to the NFL. Some recent stuff going on here, guys. We haven't talked about any of it, so we're going to try quickly to touch on a bunch of it, a bunch of different quarterback situations. Sam Darnold now with the Seahawks, Cooper Kupp to the Seahawks.
Yep.
The draft position starting to shake out a little bit. Now looks as if today it's going to be Cam Ward as a lock at number one, whether that be the Titans or if they trade it. So Cam Ward going to be the number one pick, it looks like, here coming up in the April draft. But a lot of different things in free agency. Aaron Rodgers, everybody's awaiting his decision still. And it doesn't even mean anything anymore at this point in his career, but it's still the Steelers are waiting for Aaron Rodgers.
He said he's looking for a team with a Green Bay environment, meaning he's looking for a team that he can run himself.
Well, what do you guys think is maybe the biggest free agent acquisition or your biggest, off-season move so far? There's been a bunch of them. It's T. Higgins and Jamar Chase back to the Bengals on the biggest deal for two receivers.
The biggest thing has been all the players the Eagles lost on defense so far. That's really going to show its head next season.
We said that a couple of years ago. That's what happens when you win a Super Bowl, turnover.
Yeah. I mean, I think
and the Niners losing all their players too. My God.
Yeah. It's nasty work.
I mean, like every big name is gone.
And I think that's the biggest conversation for me, not just as a Niners fan. I think that the Brock Purdy situation with the contract.
That's going to be interesting.
That's nasty. And
that's going to be interesting.
Like, I don't know. There was rumors that he wants to have the numbers that Dak has on his contract. And it's like, it's like, yeah, man. It's like the NFL has to, and I know like the NFL is not going to do it. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like there has to be a situation with the contracts, with the quarterbacks. It's just out of control.
It is. And we'll wrap it up on that note here for tonight. Big Sweet 16 matchups coming up here this weekend. Special shout out to Dennis. Jason, we'll see you later. For Matthew, myself, and Dennis Pritchard behind the glass. We'll see you next Monday night.
Peace.